Hey everyone, the Human Floyd here. Welcome to the final part of the Elder Scrolls Online Role-Playing Beginner's Guide. If you've watched my previous videos, then you know how to create and roleplay a character in ESO. Now let's put this knowledge to use and get you some people to RP with. ESO is a great game for RP because of the lore, the setting, and the character customization. However, it can be challenging to meet new roleplayers due to the fact that we are spread out across the mega server. In part 5 of this guide, I'm going to be talking about how to find roleplay regardless of the game's current phasing issues and the segregation of roleplayers. There are still many options open to those of us who are willing to look. It's kind of an old joke that every roleplay adventure starts in a tavern, but there is some truth to it. Taverns are common gathering places for roleplayers, especially in major cities like Daggerfall, Eldenroot, and Mournhold. You can always try your luck meeting other roleplayers there. Just ask the NPC bartender for a drink and emote a little bit. This will let other roleplayers know that you are looking for IC interaction. Events are very common. TESO RP does a weekly roundup of the many RP events. You can also check out the Tamriel Chronicle on ElderScrollsOnline.com. Parties, moots, sermons, war councils are all common RP events. These are great ways to meet new roleplayers and practice your character. While we're here, there's a section in the TESO RP forums called Classifieds. Here you can find people looking for other roleplayers to hang out with. Some people will be searching for something specific, like a mentor or someone to roleplay their brother or sister. Other times people will be searching for anyone willing to roleplay with them. You can check these out or post your own. Guilds like Roleplayers on the NA megaserver and the European Roleplay Collective on the EU megaserver exist to help roleplayers phase together. Due to the way that the megaserver divides players, it is unlikely that you will run into other roleplayers randomly. By joining an OOC community guild, you increase your chances of being phased with other roleplayers due to your guild connection to them. It's a good idea to join one of these guilds so that you'll be more likely to run into random roleplayers. The guild chats are also useful to check and see if anyone online is currently roleplaying or would like to. Many players use these guilds for networking and meeting new people. Role-playing guilds are often IC organizations. There are many benefits to joining an in-character role-playing guild. You often get to continually roleplay with a lot of the same people, causing your characters to develop deeper connections which result in more meaningful RP. Guilds often host events and have scheduled and spontaneous roleplay sessions. Another great benefit to joining a roleplay guild is that most of them have some sort of storyline going on that you can get involved in. Finding the right guild can take some time, but it's worth finding a good group of fellow roleplayers in the long run. RP guilds advertise everywhere from TamrielFoundry.com and TESO RP to the official ESO forums and even on Reddit. Advertisements for RP guilds will almost always have an RP or say the word roleplaying in the title. Many guilds will identify themselves as either light, medium, or heavy RP. These categories are loosely defined and many people have their own idea about what they mean. But I will try to sum up the general consensus of each level of roleplay. Light RP is often defined as less involved and more casual. Light roleplayers usually don't roleplay every day, sometimes not even weekly. They don't get too involved in storylines. Light RP is less concerned with grammar and punctuation, even less concerned with lore and the idea of sticking to the setting. For these reasons, Light RP is better for someone who doesn't have the time to research endless lore, or play quite as often as other roleplayers. Medium RP is the most difficult to define, though I found it is often used to represent players who don't care quite as much about lore, but still get involved in deep and involved plots. Medium RP is also less concerned with writing long descriptive emotes, more to the point and quick than heavy roleplay. Heavy roleplay is for the more dedicated roleplayer, someone who spends a lot of time thinking about their roleplay, figuring their character out, and doing their best to stay true to that character. Heavy RPers are usually more lore focused, less willing to alter their setting than other roleplayers. Although it isn't always the case, heavy RPers tend to care more about their roleplay than other aspects of the game. They often devote a very large portion of their in-game time to RP and play quite regularly. These are very rough terms, but that's the basic meaning for each of them. Find whichever one works the best for you and keep an eye out for those words on guild advertisements. Don't ever feel like you're obligated to stay in a guild once you've joined one. There's nothing wrong with trying something out and deciding that their style of RP doesn't suit you, or you just plain don't like them out of character. There are tons of guilds out there. Keep your ear to the ground, and always ask people if they've heard of any cool roleplay guilds that might suit your character and playstyle. The right guild will be one that feels like you belong, both in character and out of character. Find one that suits your character, but also seek out like-minded players that you get along with. Also called plots, storylines are continuing, serial roleplays that have a central theme or progressive story to them. These stories can take anywhere from days to months to complete. Some never really end until people stop playing them. A storyline could be as simple as a guild going into a cave to eliminate a necromancer, or as involved as a long-standing rivalry with another guild. As an example, my guild, the Banescale Fellowship, is currently nearing the end of our first storyline. This was a rather simple one, being that the Fellowship had traveled to Morrowind and back in an attempt to recruit and grow. Now that recruits have been gathered, they are undergoing trials to earn their place in the Fellowship. Once these trials are complete, my guild will move on to a new storyline. Storylines give your roleplay purpose and a sense of accomplishment when the plot is wrapped up. Your character might be involved in many storylines at once, or none at all. It's all up to you and how involved you want to get. It's one thing to go out and look for roleplay. It's another thing to start it. Roleplay relies on people to be driven enough to proliferate it. If people didn't start guilds and plots, roleplay would be a lot less exciting. Here's a few things you can do to help get roleplay started. Storylines come in many forms. Starting one isn't very hard. You can initiate a new plot as easily as walking up to a group of RPers and saying something like, "I was wandering in the wilderness when a bunch of witches attacked me. I defeated them and found this strange amulet around one of their necks. Might any of you know what it is? See how it glows with an evil light?" And bam, there's a storyline. You can decide what this amulet does, or allow one of the other RPers to do so. Storylines can be as random or directed as you want them to be. Other roleplayers love a good storyline. It won't be hard to find people who want to get involved. Any excuse can be made to have a party. There are tons of holidays in the Elder Scrolls lore that have never gotten any attention and could be turned into RP events. For a list of those, check out the description below. There are endless reasons people gather together in real life, and any of those could be turned into a role-playing event. Classes, competitions, sports like racing or wrestling, council meetings, political rallies, protests, sermons, military actions, music festivals, plays, or anything else could be a role-playing event. Once you have an idea, just post it on the TESO RP event forums. You can discuss it and get help and ideas from other players there. If you go somewhere in the game and start emoting, people will see that and know that you're a role player. Like I said earlier, you can do that in a tavern, but really it works anywhere. Back when I played World of Warcraft, I would hop on my Tauren character and hang out in one of the low-level villages, which my character was a guard of. I would emote about doing chores, talking to NPCs, and patrolling the area. I found RP that way more times than I can count. If you emote, they will come. This is also a great way to build and work on your character. If you claim that your character is a leather worker, then emote about tanning hides and making boots. Everyone has to eat and rest as well, so next time you go into an inn, emote about your character mowing down a plate of food, or having an argument with the innkeeper about his prices, like frustrated Sendron here. In the description below, there's a link to an article written by the Duchess, one of ESO's most proactive roleplayers. It includes additional tips for connecting and finding RP. I want to give a special thanks to everyone in my guild for their help and support during the creation of this series, which has cut deeply into my roleplay time. I also want to thank the staff at TESORP.com for all the hard work they do, and the roleplay community as a whole for being a bunch of awesome creative people. Finally, I want to thank you, the viewer, for sticking around and listening to me babble on about my favorite topic. If you still have questions or need help with anything relating to the Elder Scrolls or role-playing, please get a hold of me. I can be reached here on YouTube or on the TESO RP site under the same username. If you like these videos, feel free to subscribe for more roleplay content in the future. Roleplaying is an adventure, unlike any other. It's a creative pursuit up there with writing a novel or acting in a play. Maybe someday the world will better understand and accept roleplay. Until then, keep on adventuring, and don't forget to emote while you're at it. I've been the Human Floyd, and I'll see you next time. Peace.